you start off by identifying, okay, where is my time best spent? And then, there's an exercise that's called delegate and elevate. And so you have your 4 quadrants. You want to live out of the quadrants where you're absolutely providing the most value to the firm. And so once you kind of get it through your head that you're not the absolute best at every single task that you do, then I think you start looking at, okay, where am I having to spend the most time doing things that I'm not good at or that are not driving value? And so you start finding those positions.
Tell me a little bit about yourself. I understand that you are the founder of Snellings, right?
So I started off doing products liability defense work for a larger Dallas firm, and then did that for about 4 years. And then me and another guy started a law firm up here in Collin County. We were together for almost 9 years, and then we went our separate ways. And I formed Snellings Law on September 1st of 2017,
Okay.
coming up on 7 years ago.
Yeah, yeah. That's exactly when I moved to the United States. I moved in January 2017 too. That's fun. And so it's big, it's growing, right? I think I saw you have 3 offices right now.
We do, yeah. Our headquarters are in Frisco. We have a Sherman office, and then we opened up a Dallas office earlier this year, far north Dallas.
Okay, awesome. So things are happening, things are, yeah, it's for sure growing. That kind of like brings me to this next question. What are the current trends in the market that you have been aware of? What winds are blowing, especially like in personal injury?
Yeah, so personal injury, I think, is one of those areas where obviously they're kind of at the forefront of the marketing, right? There's a lot of marketing spend. You have bigger firms moving into newer territories, and also not just staying there, but kind of reaching into the suburb areas. So, we're headquartered in a suburb, Frisco, Texas. Sherman is, pretty far north, and we're just south of Oklahoma. But we still have a lot of Dallas attorneys or bigger firms reaching into those areas as well. So I think for the firms who don't have the marketing spend that the bigger firms do, it's getting creative and finding different ways to leverage data, to leverage the different platforms out there, and really finding your own voice and appealing to the communities that you serve.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. So it seems like you don't rely on referrals or word by mouth like that much at all, right? Like you are pretty active on social media. I think I saw you have like a YouTube channel.
Yeah, I mean, we have an entire marketing platform, and it's very tied into each other. We have looked at all the various ways that we can get out there, make ourselves known, and we play off of that stuff, right? So I have a podcast called The Driven Crowd. We use that to develop referral relationships. We also use it to provide value to listeners and to the guests. And
Yeah.
so, anytime I'm looking at how do we provide value, I think that's first and foremost what we try to do. And so we use the podcast. We'll then, put that out on social media, on YouTube, and then we'll pull out different clips, and we try to use our content over and over again in different ways. So
Okay.
in terms of referrals, no, we absolutely love referrals, and that's a big part of our marketing. We love to develop those relationships. One of the things that we do to develop relationships is we provide value to others first without seeking anything in return. And so we have lots of attorneys that refer us cases. We have lots of former clients, professionals, and others in our communities that we've developed relationships with who trust us to help their friends and family and loved ones.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I love that because that's so important too. And I see that in personal injury, especially what you said, like providing value, because people don't know what to do. Like they get in an accident, what next? So they first thing they do, they go online, right? Like they go on Google. They're gonna try to find answers for their questions. So putting out their information, educating people, I think this is super valuable. And yeah, even if you sometimes I've seen that too with other law firms. Sometimes the prospect that he doesn't even book right away, he doesn't even buy it from you right away, but he will remember you. And if you keep creating content, then is what you said, like it creates a relationship, and then they will refer you. So I love that. I love that you are exploring everything. And what is making your landscape more challenging over the years? Is there 1 or 2 things that you think is becoming challenging?
Well, I mean, every time the legislature's in session, they never try to necessarily help out injury victims. There's a lot of money in legislature and lobbying, and rarely do the reforms go our way. So that's a constant challenge, and that's something that we've been dealing with since I started practicing, almost 20 years ago. I think obviously Google constantly presents challenges by updating algorithms and things like that. And so really having a team with the knowledge base to see what's coming and try to get out ahead of the curve is huge. One of the newer things that we've dealt with over the last several years is being able to have access to so much talent all over the world. And so figuring out what can be delegated, and then who to delegate it to, while also creating the systems and processes to make sure that things that you are delegating are being handled in the way that you need them to be handled. And how do you manage those virtual employees, if you will, or vendors?
Do you have a lot of vendors or virtual employees right now? Like, what would you say is like 50, 80% are all over, or are they like office based?
No, so we still have, I mean, we have a hybrid work environment here at Snelling's Law, but we have, I believe, 14 right now employees, we'll say under roof. But like I have an executive assistant who is based out of the Philippines. We have, our marketing vendors, a lot of them work with our CMO, but they're, outsourced as well. A fractional CFO, I have a bookkeeper slash CPA. So I have coaches as well. And so, yeah, I mean, I think trying to balance, how do you manage, inside versus outside, while also keeping, your culture first and foremost. One of my main duties here at Snelling's Law is to guard the culture. And as you grow, as you open additional offices, as you hire outside more, that becomes much more difficult. And you got to figure out, okay, how do we hold everybody accountable and make sure that everybody knows exactly what their job duties are and what the metrics are that we expect them to accomplish, while also continuing to build that culture that we've worked so hard to develop over the years.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Now that you mentioned metrics, what are the most important metrics for you?
Well, obviously, we're looking at how many qualified leads do we get out of those qualified leads? How many are we signing? How many are we losing? How many demands are we getting out the door? How many cases are being filed? How many cases are being settled? How many cases are being closed? I mean, that's the 50,000-foot level. As you dive into each specific department or each specific seat, they go more in depth from there. And so, we had our leadership L10 meeting this morning, and our scorecard, I think we have about 12 on there that the leadership team looks at, but we also look at caseloads. We look at outstanding tasks or tasks that are overdue by more than a certain amount of time. And what we're trying to do there is see, okay, where are we at capacity wise? Because the last thing we want is to have our team redlining whenever we should be hiring more, or making sure that we're being efficient with our time and we're getting stuff done. So those are the kinds of things that we look at.
Yeah, yeah. This is so important. How do you currently spend your day? Like, are you more like in the managing side of things, or are you hands-on with clients?
So we have an attorney out right now on maternity leave. So I've been kind of diving more into helping our attorneys with tasks that I can jump in and complete, or making phone calls, or just making sure that everything is up to date. I would say typically my day-to-day is strategy on cases. So helping the team develop strategies, and then as new things come in, pivot from those strategies. That's a big part of what I do. And then, yeah, a lot of what I do is also managing the firm. So managing the marketing, managing a lot of the things that go into intake. Those are probably my two biggest focuses. And then also relationship development, podcast, and there's different marketing that, I got to do. One of the other things that I focused a lot on is working with the team in terms of teaching. So putting together presentations and making sure that our team is fully trained up on everything that they're touching. My law partner, Rocio, and I work really hard on that, as well as our head of operations, Alyssa. I'm looking at the metrics. I'm looking at the reports that we go through. So our leads reports, our settlement reports, all that kind of stuff. So I would say the majority of my time is spent managing the firm. I don't have any cases that I'm a lead attorney on per se right now. If we end up having to try cases, I can jump in and help with that. But yeah, I'd say in terms of my day to day, it's mainly managing the firm. and
And
working on strategy.
how did you do that? Because I've seen, like, by talking with other lawyers too, that they have a hard time taking themselves out of the day to day and just being managers. I don't know how easy it was for you, or was it something that you had to build over the years, or you always had the mindset like, hey, I need to delegate, and if I want to reach this goal, then this is what I have to do.
Yeah, so I think the first step is humility, right? You're not the absolute best to touch everything. And so you start off by identifying, okay, where is my time best spent? And then, there's an exercise that we do in EOS called delegate and elevate. And so you have your 4 quadrants. You want to live out of the quadrants where you're absolutely providing the most value to the firm. And so once you kind of get it through your head that you're not the absolute best at every single task that you do, then I think you start looking at, okay, where am I having to spend the most time doing things that I'm not good at or that are not driving value? And so you start finding those positions, right? When I started Snelling's Law, it was me and a paralegal, all right? And so then we hired another person to do intake and help with medical records and bills. Then we got Rocio, who came in. That was the second attorney to handle a lot of the litigation stuff, to where I was mainly dealing with the pre-lit stuff. And we just kind of grew in phases. And then I think once you start delegating and you see the power of it, then it makes it a lot easier. But
Yeah.
ultimately, it comes down to having the humility as well as making the time to train people,
Yeah.
having the systems in place where things aren't getting missed. So
Mhm.
there's a lot to it. And I think EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System, which we implemented about 3 years ago now, has made a huge, huge difference as well.
That's great. I love that. I love that because I do see that it can be very challenging for an attorney, like especially if it's not a huge firm, right? Like if you only have like 7, 10 employees, it can become tricky. But
And we can tend to be control freaks, right?
yes, exactly. I see that too. Like sometimes they're like, no, I need to be on top of everything. I need to know, and you're right. Like if it really comes to how are you spending your day, right? Like what are you good at? Like, do you really need to be doing it intake right now? Right. I love that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a great book, Buy Back Your Time. I read that earlier this year, and that along with the book Traction, which lays out EOS, two fantastic books for anyone to read who is trying to scale their firm. Scaling Up is another one. Scale their firm and teaching you how to delegate as well.
Yeah, I'll definitely take a look on that too and make recommendations for my next interviews. And now that we talk about team members and delegating, how hard or how easy it is for you to attract and especially retain high quality team members.
Yeah, so for me, that begins and ends with our culture.
Mhm.
Are we a place where people want to work? And when you look at that, I think you have to look at all aspects of it, right? And so from the get-go, we have core values that really define our team. And from hiring through evaluating and occasionally having to fire someone, a lot of it stems from that person not jiving with our core values. Doesn't mean they're a bad person or a bad employee. They're just not, they don't share our values. And that can really destroy a team quickly if you're not all on the same page there. I think having systems and processes in place to make sure that everybody knows like the different steps and they're not having to remember them all the time, right? It allows them to open up their brains and really focus on the more creative tasks or the tasks where you really have to think through. I think having a training plan in place, we're rolling out Trainual right now to really help us have all of our knowledge in one place. And we have a game plan there for that. I think providing professional development, not just for the attorneys, but for everybody in your office. This
Mhm.
year, we rolled out a professional development program, and we had the team members do the research and figure out, okay, what core area do I need to improve in, and what is a CLE or a conference or an online course that I can use to improve there. And I think having constant feedback from us through looking at their metrics, right? Everybody has metrics they're responsible for and held accountable to, through asking them various questions on, hey, what's working, what's not working, and providing feedback, not yearly. We have formal quarterly feedback meetings, but more times than not, if we see an issue or if something comes up that we need to address, it's right then and there. We don't wait. We try to provide as much feedback as possible. So I think when you're growing a team and then you're wanting to keep that team because you've got good people, then I really think it starts and ends with the core values and how you treat them and train them up.
Yeah, because it's so true. Like you can have the best attorney or, the best team member, but if they don't have training and don't know what to do, they don't have a culture to follow, then they're just lost, right? So you don't
Yeah.
explore you don't take the best out of them. What about your goals? What are your goals for the next 12 months?
Yeah, so, our 10-year plan is to help 2,500 personal injury victims to claim completion with year-over-year increasing average case values. So what we've done is we've kind of created a tension there. We are really good at the bigger cases. We provide our most value there. That being said, we want to help as many people as we can. So there's this constant pull of, do we sign up this specific case and we ask ourselves, okay, well, can we make a big impact for that person? Are we the best law firm for that person? Or should we refer that to a firm that we trust and know will do a good job with this kind of case? And that's basically a daily discussion as leads come in and we field phone calls. We want to be an asset to our community. And, for us, that means making a big impact on the cases that we're really, really good at. And so we have to make decisions each day on the kind of cases that we take. But, with our team knowing that vision, knowing why we're here, and knowing what our 10-year plan is, it makes it a lot easier for them to say, okay, is this a case that's going to help us drive towards that 10-year plan, or is it not? And
Mhm.
so I think whenever you equip a team with your vision and mission, with your 10-year plan, it really gives them a lot of authority to make decisions and push the firm forward.
Wow, that's so beautiful. That's great that you have such a good relationship with other firms too, and you are open to referral them. This is so important. So yeah, I would say just being like try to manage what cases you take in, and then be very good at those cases, be an expert on that, and then just focus on this like for the next few years, right? Like focus on the big cases, something that you're really good and passionate about. I love that. Yeah, I think it is really cool. What initiatives are you doing to get there? Besides just like, managing this goes there, this goes here.
Yeah, so obviously to have those cases and to make a big impact for people, you got to market. And
Right.
so, we have an avatar. And
Mhm.
so all of our marketing focuses on, that avatar client. So everything from the way that we brand ourselves to our social media campaigns to our service events to everything that we're doing in the community, we have that avatar in mind. And, also we're wanting to bring value, right? We're wanting to bring value to not just our clients, but the community as a whole. And I think what that does is it establishes trust. I don't think it's any secret that personal injury attorneys aren't viewed in the most favorable light by most people. And, one of my kind of internal goals is I want to change that. I want to show that we actually do provide a bunch of value to the community. And our goal is to make each of the communities that we serve safer and benefit from us being in that town.
What is your avatar? What are you focusing more into right now?
Yeah, so I mean, our avatar is very specific, but what we do is we look for people who are injured, have significant injuries, where liability is more secure in our favor, right? Not to say that we don't take contested liability cases; we handle those all the time, but that's not our preferred. Obviously, we would like a crash that is straightforward with specific aggravating factors, where the client is someone that we really want to work with. Any personal injury case, doesn't matter how small or how big, your client is your biggest asset or your biggest hurdle to overcome. And, not saying that necessarily certain people are bad or that any victim deserves to be injured, but, when we have a really good client that we can develop that relationship with, then that just makes everything better, quite frankly. And so that's one of the things that we really look for is clients who we work well with, that we can develop that relationship with and develop that trust. And then obviously there's the damages factors. We'd like to see elements of damages that we can work with. So from lost wages to physical pain, mental anguish, disfigurement, physical impairment, all of those, we look for clients who have suffered those damages that we think we can really develop and show to an adjuster, defense attorney, or ultimately a jury if we need to.
Okay, I like that. And then you do that all through talking to people, right? Like you like the whole funnel will be advertising, they will come in and they will talk to you, and then you kind of qualify them right there, like with the questions. And then if everything is good, like if they are a qualified person, then they schedule a meeting with an attorney. Is that how kind of like your funnel works?
What we try to do is make it as easy as possible for the victim. A lot of victims, they don't have a car. A lot of victims, they're not in a position to go drive somewhere. And so what we do is we have plenty of methods to reach us, right? Through the phone, through web forms, through our online chat, and various other ways as well. And so, we get them on the phone. We have an intake specialist that is highly trained in getting the information that we need. It's pretty detailed. And we want to make sure that we get everything down so we're not having to ask the same questions over and over, right? We want this to be an easy process for them. If it's a case that is a qualified lead for us, and at that point in time, we try to get them transferred over to an attorney. We want an attorney to be able to answer their questions and walk them through the process and how it works. Also go through our representation agreement, make sure they understand everything. And if they want to move forward, then they have the ability to sign right there via, we use Filevine and BindSign. So it's like a DocuSign. They can sign on their phone or on their computer. If they want a Zoom meeting with the attorney, then we set up the Zoom meeting. And so we try to make it as easy on them as possible so that they need to focus on healing. They don't need to focus on the rest of it. They just need to focus on getting better. And so we try to take that stress off their plate.
That's so nice. That's so nice. If you had a magic wand that you could wave and solve one problem right now, what would that be?
Oh man. In each department or
Right?
yeah. Here's one big problem that we see all the time, and this really goes out to solve a problem for the victims, not necessarily for our firm. And that is to have a magic wand and teach everybody about insurance coverages. We're in Texas, and there are so many people driving around uninsured or with just the state minimum insurance, and the vast majority of people don't understand how insurance works and that they can protect themselves against those people by having uninsured, underinsured motorist coverage. And we see so many people come in that don't have that coverage, and there's only so much we can do. So that would be my magic wand to really educate the community. And if you look at our Instagram, if you look at our YouTube, we're constantly putting videos out about insurance coverage because if that's taken care of, it allows us to do so much more to help our clients. And there's nothing more frustrating than being handcuffed on a case where there's only so much you can do for your client because there's just no money there.
Why do you think they don't have a like insurance, don't want them to know?
Well, nobody's ever taught us that. When I was in high school and I started learning how to drive, it wasn't in driver's education. There wasn't a class on it. Essentially, you just get put on your parents' insurance, and nobody ever really teaches you how it works. I mean, there's attorneys out there. I guarantee you, if I were to go give a talk to the bar association, I would be shocked if half the attorneys knew what insurance coverages they personally had or what they even meant. It's just not something that's ever really discussed or taught.
Yeah, it's true. It is true. I see that a lot too. Okay, yeah, I think that answered my questions. I wanted to keep it under 30 minutes, so I think we're right there in the mark. But yeah, thank you so much for your
Yeah.
insights. I loved it. I learned so much from you, and I'm absolutely a big fan already of yours because it seems like you have a goal, you have systems, you have processes, you know what you need to do to take you to the next level. And I can tell you that not everybody has that. And it's so good to talk to somebody that knows what they want and how to do it, right?
Well, most lawyers, we don't have any business education. I mean, maybe if you went to business school for undergrad, you certainly don't learn that in law school. And so I think a lot of lawyers out there face a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety because they're not just practicing law, right? You're running a business. I don't care if your name's on the door, if you're a partner or not. At some point in time, you're going to be responsible for generating revenue. And nobody teaches you how to do that. Nobody teaches you marketing. And so luckily, I've had some amazing coaches. I'm involved in mastermind groups with some amazing people. And that's where I've learned the vast majority of these lessons from. And so for any lawyer out there who is having that struggle and feels like they have no idea when it comes to running a law firm, starting a law firm, growing a law firm, and I highly encourage everybody to get involved with a coach and get involved with a mastermind group. Those two things will save you years of stress, anxiety. Not that I don't still suffer from those things. I think any business owner does, but you will get further down the road faster by having people who know what they're doing and will pour in.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love that. Thank you. Thank you so much. And yeah, well, that's exactly what we do too. Like we're not like I would say we're not a traditional marketing company just because of that. Like I feel like me having this background in law, I know the language, I know exactly what I need. And you're right. Like I left law school, had no idea what we're gonna do. Like we don't learn business, we don't learn marketing, we don't learn nothing of that. So that's how I started to like helping some colleagues to get new clients, and because I had the sales expertise, and then of course like digging into marketing and more specific. So that's how I started, and I totally agree with you. That's everywhere in the world. It's not just the United States, everywhere. We really don't finish school with this knowledge, and I think it's so important.
But yeah, definitely happy to talk.
I'll start following you on LinkedIn too. Maybe we can keep this relationship open. And I'll love that.
Absolutely.
Sounds
Thank you
good.
so
All right.
much. I
Thank you so
appreciate it.
much, Scott. Yeah. Have a
All
good
right.
day.
You too.